You're listening to the Clean Comedy Podcast with your host, James Creviston.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. It's James, and it's now February. I don't know what happened. It seemed like it was January and everything was good, and now we're in it. And so if you guys have been listening for a while, you know that one of my New Year's resolutions was to learn the ukulele. And I have been practicing. I only could play like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and just like short songs like that. I'm still learning. I'm doing this like course on YouTube and I'm doing a masterclass thing. So I'm working through it. I have a hard time with the hand finger picking thing. If you want to know who got me turned on to the ukulele, it was Luke LaCoy. We were having a party, and I said I want to learn to play something, and he said, "Oh, you should learn the ukulele because the guitar is a little difficult or whatever." So as I was doing that, I was getting excited. Well, then I do a class, not really a class, but like a writing group with Robert G. Lee, who's been a mentor of mine, and I came across a really funny lady who plays the ukulele, who sings songs, who does comedy. And I was like, okay, I have to. And if you go on her Instagram and stuff, you'll be able to see a bunch of it. She has a bunch of her songs on all the streaming services, so you can do it. She's a singer-songwriter. She decided to merge comedy and music together and make stuff. She has great stuff. She has a new sitcom that she just shot a pilot for. She does a lot of stuff. She's super funny. I'm very excited to have her. Please welcome the very funny, very talented DeAnn Alaine. Welcome.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here, James. I love the Clean Comedy Podcast. What?
Thank you. I'm so excited. When you played your song, and she'll play it later, guys. So just listen. Make sure you listen. But when you played your song in our writing group, and I was like dying. I was like, oh my gosh, like because I just got my ukulele and started like practicing. I was like, okay, well, this is a sign, right? This is one of those signs of like, okay, this is something you can do, right? You know?
Yes.
So,
go ahead.
So how did you get started in comedy? You were a singer-songwriter first, right? And then you got into comedy. So kind of give us your origin story and stuff.
Okay, so I went through this program years and years ago called Actors, Models, and Talent for Christ. It's AMTC. That's where someone said you could do comedy. And so I was starting to write, and I was like, And so then life happened, and I didn't do anything for like 7-8 years. And my family and I moved to Orlando, Florida, and I was working happily for Universal. And on my way home from work, I was in a car accident. And a week before the car accident, I just heard this resonating voice in my heart say, I want you to write and build relationships. I'm like, okay. So I assumed it was like writing songs for worship songs like that, Christian material, Christian songs, because I love Jesus. And 6 months later, I had gone through therapy. I was going through recovering from surgery, back surgery. And I went to a ladies' retreat with my church, and I was sitting in this chapel. It was dusk because there was a big stained glass window in there, and the sun was setting. It was so beautiful. And I said, Lord, I expect to hear from you. I expect you to give me this direction. And so I opened up my Bible. I mean, it was open. I was like looking down and just starting to read through the book of Psalms, and I came across Psalm 22:15, and the verse is, oh gosh, now I'm like catching myself on the spot. And I'm gonna botch it, so I apologize. But it says something like, my strength has dried up like the sun-baked clay. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You've laid me in the dust and left me for dead. And I'm like, okay, Lord, odd verse, but I want to hear from you. And I am not kidding. He was like, he is truly the king of comedy. And he said to me, Gosh, that sounds a lot like the signs and symptoms of premenopause. I'm like, what? Like what? And then I flipped a few more pages. I'm like, I know the voice of the Lord. This is over the top. So I flipped a few more pages. I mean, just kind of reading through, and I got to Psalm 24:7, and it's um um open up your gates. Oh, open up your ye ancient gates. Open up ye ancient doors, for the King of Glory shall come in. And 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 I was like, okay. And he said, sounds like something an elderly Christian husband would say to his wife if he wants some sugar, sugar. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, who's going to let me do comedy like that in, like, not a church? Like, what on earth are you doing? And he's like, silly, when I told you to write and build relationships, I was talking about comedy. I'm like, I get to do comedy? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh man. So that was just over 3 years ago, and the things that have happened since then have been absolutely astonishing. Like I've known as a little girl that I was called to work for the Lord. I knew I was going to be a singer, but I had no idea that it would be kind of evangelistic and out like in the world. I love doing church, bringing joy into church congregations. I love that. But I know that my evangelistic roots and my heart takes me out into the world with this crazy comedy. So yeah.
That's good because your comedy is you can do both. You could do like churches and whatever and stuff, and then you can do clubs and those kind of things. That's the best. That's what I always find to be the best because I know there are a lot of like church comedians. I know there's like you'll never see Michael Jr. in a comedy club. That's not going to happen. Like he's going to do churches and mega churches and all that stuff. He's never going to do a club, but he could if he wanted to. He could
Sure,
go do the
sure.
same set in a club. It would still murder. So that is always a good crossover. I know there's also some comedians that only like to do churches, right? And there's some comedians that only like to do clubs or only like to do venues that are not churches. I like the idea, and I like that what you do, and probably Robert G. Lee said the same thing to us, is that if you could cross over and do both things, you're gonna be able to be more beneficial as a comedian. You're going to grow yourself and grow your career because you can cross over and go, I can do church shows, I can do club shows, I can do corporate shows, I can do whatever and still be okay. Did you say something like that to you?
Oh gosh. Robert G. Lee, what a guy. I'm sure that I've heard him say that, but the things that come to my mind that I heard
Oh, okay.
from him
Okay.
was I I had the pleasure almost 3 years ago. This summer it'll be 3 years ago to attend the Clean Comedy Challenge with Leslie Norris Townsend
Did
and
that?
some other wonderful. That became my comedy community. That was a safe comedy community, and the first time I was getting kind of reviewed by him after my first night of comedy. And I mean, I didn't know how to do comedy. I didn't know the science behind it. I mean, I was studying it, but I was just raw.
Yeah.
And he came out to me and he said, wow, that persona of yours is so over the top. And he said, and I love that non sequitur. And I just smiled. I have a digital recording of the feedback that they gave to me because I take terrible notes. And and I had to look up in the dictionary. I'm like, okay, I don't know what a non sequitur is, but I'm gonna find out. They're not gonna know that I don't know. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. And he's like, did you mean to say what you said? And I said, no, I was so nervous. I wasn't planning on saying it. He's like, that's what made it so great. So that is one of my earliest memories of Robert G. Lee and how he tends to teach like water gushing out of a fire hose.
Yes.
Open your mouth and whatever you can keep in, keep in. If you get waterlogged, so what? Just keep your mouth open. You'll get something.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I still have mine recorded on my phone too. All the
Oh, and I,
feedback that they gave me from that because I did mine in 2016. I'd only been doing comedy. I don't even think it was 9 months yet. Something. It was not very
yeah,
long. And
wow.
so I did the one at the Pasadena Ice House, and I met a lot of good friends
Oh,
there. It's where I met Luke LaCoy, who was my old co-host here. He doesn't do it anymore. He does a lot of back end stuff now. My friend Jonathan Giles, who's written for NBC and done a lot of other stuff. Robert G. Lee, who became my mentor. Marty, wait, why did it go blank? Coach
Simpson.
Marty, yeah, Marty Simpson.
Yeah.
Leslie, like a bunch of people. Let's see. I was trying to think. Like, met so many good people at that show.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just Michael Palisak I met at that show, and now it's just, like so many people, and it's really changed the trajectory of my career. And I wasn't expecting to go in there and do anything well. I was like, I just want to kind of gauge where I am, and I did pretty good. They only hated one joke of mine, and since then I've retired that joke. But they hated one joke of mine where I was like, I was kind of like making fun of my wife a little bit, and like they were like, nobody's gonna like you because you make fun of your wife. I was like, yes, but it's not really making fun of my wife. It's like an entry into how bad of a husband I am. And they're like, yeah, but you start with making fun of your wife and then you work your way into that. So people don't like it. And I was like, all right. But people like that joke. And then kind of the culture now. I had a client that I was working on a project with that heard that joke. Like, I guess I still had it up on YouTube somewhere. Hated the joke, called me ableist and like all this other stuff, and like ended the project. So I was like, all right, well, apparently that joke doesn't work now. So I'm like, I'm out with that. So it was weird. Now, when you did the Clean Comedy Challenge, did you play any songs or did you just do pure stand up?
Oh no, the first night I did stand up, spoken stand up is what I call it. And the second night, all I did was the musical comedy, and I sang "They're All Dead." It's about all these dead people in the Bible. And by the way, that was during COVID, and it was so crazy. Oh, James. Okay, so my first year was in Nashville, and we could only have 7 comedians in the room for the night of the performance at one time, and we all had to be masked. They disinfected the mic. I mean, nothing like keeping the vibe up on a show, like disinfecting a microphone between each one, but it ended up being a really great proving ground, because if you could do that, and oh, by the way, everyone in there, all 20 of them, because they had strict limitations with how many people could be in a space. It was probably less than that. They had masks on. So if they're laughing, it's completely muffled. And so it was such a strenuous situation, but we pushed through. And hang on, my computer is just going bananas. Hang on. And so I thought, gosh, I started learning comedy through 2020, and so I got used to people not laughing, and it really developed that thick skin that you have to have, right? Because Zoom comedy, it's tough, and then you get there, and I'm like, I have zero expectations. In fact, when we had to like all introduce ourselves at the Clean Comedy Challenge, I'm like, I know that I don't know anything, and I'm here to learn and build relationships. Like, that's all I know. But then the second night I got up and I sang "They're All Dead," and they're like, "DeAnn Alaine, that's hysterical. That's your niche." And they weren't trying to like shove me. It was so kind and gentle and encouraging. But music is my strength. And you know what I found out, James? I found out that you can literally sing about anything. And if it's music has a way of bringing a buffer. And like one of the songs that you asked me to perform in a little while is like, I would never say these things to people, but I can put it to music and comedy, and it just it totally takes people by surprise. Like, I'm the wild card. You will not expect what happens with DeAnn Alaine, which is that whole element of surprise is one of the backbones of comedy. And so yeah.
Do you want to play the song? Do you want to do the song now?
If you want, this is your
let's
show,
do it.
baby.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I love it. First of all, you guys, I love this song. So the first time I heard it, I think it was like your rough version of it, but it was still amazing at the time. So I'm very excited. So here we go.
Okay, folks. So I like musicals, and I learned things from musicals. Like, if you're like from the Pirates of Penzance, if you're going to stab someone with a sword, make sure it's not plastic. Otherwise, it's just a really awkward beating. I also learned that you can laugh out loud, James. It's allowed. It's allowed. And I also learned that if something is really hard to say, you should sing it. Hmm. If it's hard to say, go ahead and sing it. If it's hard to say, go ahead and sing it. For instance, your baby's really ugly. Officer, I swear, that crack cocaine's not mine. How long have you been pregnant? It's not you, it's me. But really, it's you. Your boyfriend is really hot. I should have listened to my mother. If it's hard to say, sing it. If it's hard to say, sing it. For instance, you're the reason people get in car accidents on I-4. I'm keeping the dog. You're not gonna wear that in public, are you? You have the right to remain silent. You really packed on the weight. Can you imagine? Listen, James, can you imagine if Taken was turned into a musical? Oh my gosh. I've got a particular set of skills. Or what about John Wick? John Wick, you guys, to a musical. This is what you get when you murder my puppy that my dead wife gave to me. If it's hard to say, sing it. Wow, that was really nice, John Wick. If it's hard to say, sing it. If it's hard to say, sing it. Bam!
I love that. I love that. It's so good because it's such as a great point of like humanity of like we want to say things sometimes so we know that they're not nice to say or that they might hurt
Right.
someone's feelings, so we just kind of hold it in. But the fact that you play on that trope and make fun of it and they just say, oh, we could sing it instead, it'd be great. I would the part that made me laugh the most is when you did you have the right to remain silent. I could imagine a police officer singing you your Miranda rights, you know. You like
That's awesome. That's a great idea. I might make that like a side. I'll give you props for it, but I might make it like what is it? You have the right to remain silent.
silent.
Any
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law
dude,
and all that stuff.
okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna do it. We're still
Here, I'll
gonna
pull
do
up
it.
the Miranda rights so we can do this. There we
Oh,
go.
awesome. Yeah, we're
You
gonna
guys
have
about to see a song made right now.
right here, live. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Live taped, recorded, watched later. Okay.
So it's you have the right to remain silent.
You have the right to be silent. What's next?
Anything you can say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. Okay,
You have the right
James.
You have the right to
You
an
have to
attorney.
sing it. No, James, you have to sing it.
I can't
Ready?
sing it. I'm not a good singer. I'm not
That's
that good of a
what
singer.
makes the comedy, dude. That's what makes the comedy. Okay, sing the next line.
You have the right to an attorney.
Yeah, maybe we should call it. Maybe we should.
Right? Yeah, no, agreed. I agree. I told you straight up. If you cannot afford an attorney, what will be provided for you?
Catch your pole. Listen, I know about being poor. I live in a room. I know about being poor. Like I would much rather this is so like priorities, you know. I would much rather get stickers and merchandise and do comedy shows and live in a room than have like a mortgage. But that's just you know priorities, people. Priorities.
Yeah.
You have to be focused about where the Lord wants you to go and get there on His time. But do what you can, make whatever sacrifices need to be made so that you can get to where He wants you to be. because for a long time I've had this just gnawing in my heart that was, um, DeAnn, there are people that need you to get to where you need to be because they may be struggling with like sadness or depression, and they need the comedy, they need the joy,
Yep.
and so when I say that God gives me all of these ideas for these crazy songs, I know how that sounds, especially for believers because I'm a believer, and I'm like, Lord, like, okay, every song I have, there's a moral to it. So just James,
Right.
like you were saying, this whole song, I would never say that. Like,
Right.
I would never say that to a human being. Um, I probably wouldn't even sing it to a human being.
Right.
Like, if I'm being truthful, I have been known to say some terrible things in my past. I don't want to remake that though. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
My kids always laugh because I say stuff in the car when I like the only place I'm ever a bad person is in my car in traffic. Like
Oh
I
wait.
say crazy things like
Yes.
I'm the guy that like gets angry behind the wheel, but I don't like start fights or do whatever. I just yell stuff like in my car at whatever other drivers. That's the only place.
Uh,
So my kids laugh because like especially where I live in the part of LA I live. This is gonna sound mean, but there's a lot of like old drivers that like drive really slow, and
oh
so
wow.
one time I yelled out in front of my kids. I yelled, "Go down to your grave, Grandpa," and then kept driving.
Oh, that should be a
And my
song. That should be.
my kids now say that sometimes, and I'm like, what did I do? But they were dying laughing. They was like, why would you say that? That's like the craziest thing. I'm like, I don't know.
That is
Just
the craziest thing, dude. You need to turn that into a song. You do things I say in the car. Things I say in the car around my innocent, young, precious, tender-hearted
daughter.
children.
Yeah,
That's
they're funny.
hilarious.
They're my oldest one is super funny. I want her to be a comedian, but she does not want to do it. But she says funny stuff all the time. Where I'm just like, I'm like, you're way funnier than me. Like you should totally be doing something. So we'll see what
I
happens.
understand that. Yeah, my
Yeah.
husband, he does not look like how he speaks sometimes. Like, he is a southern man, he's an older gentleman, and I'm absolutely in love with him, and every once in a while he will come out with a humdinger that will lay me out on the floor. It's like, I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm like, oh, can I use that? He's like, baby, anything I say you can use. It's fair game. It's for you. Like, we're one flesh, we're one.
I love
I'm
that.
like, oh, thanks, babe. Yeah. He's so
So
amazing. Yeah.
So what's your process of coming up with a song? Because I know for like a lot of comedians, we come up with we have a premise of an idea, and then we either like for me, I talk it out, and then I go and break that recording down into a writing session, and then I make sure that there's enough, set up punchline, or whatever. But for songs, like you don't necessarily have to have set up punchline to make that work. So how does that? I've never written a song, so that's why I'm asking. I'm asking you, someone that has no
Oh,
musical
so it's
writing
kind of a
experience.
lesson. Okay.
Yes,
So with
yes.
comedy, with musical comedy, the
Mhm.
goal is to have a joke in every line.
Oh,
Someone that I truly admire and really really respect, that I met at the Clean Comedy Challenge. His name is Roscoe Nash. He
oh,
was
yeah.
actually the Clean Comedy Challenge champion, this past Clean Comedy Challenge, out in LA. And so Roscoe lives out here near me, and talented comedian.
Hmm.
He just had his driver special
That's true. Yep.
come out earlier this year. So we're friends, and someone said to me, try to have a joke with each line of the song. And
Okay.
if it doesn't work out that way, then make sure that you have a really strong joke by the third line of the
Yep.
song. I mean, that's just like comedy musical writing guts to the core. It's got to be funny, otherwise it's just a song. If they aren't laughing, then you're kind of missing the point of musical comedy. So that's just like a great starting like foundation. Um, for me, if I hear sounds, I'm more sound generated. Like, I have songs that I sing in shows without my ukulele. Like I have a song I performed last night called Blessed Mom Bod. We've all heard of a dad bod, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is it's a new song. It's called Blessed Mom Bod. It's about how curvy I am and how I still have like prego cravings and my child is 17 now. So sometimes if I hear a sound or a song, that tends to motivate me more. I can sit down and I can just write out a bunch of ideas that can have the foundation. But most of the time, um, hearing a song or hearing another comedian talk about something that I've never explored, that I can write a song about that will make it super original to me. And the fact that I can do songs about topics that maybe a couple of other people have done makes it non-copyable because
Right.
it's their idea, but I'm writing a song that's totally different than what they're, you know, I'm not a comedy ripoff. So
Right. Yeah. Well,
um
no,
so
everything. There are premises that everyone uses, right? Family, parents, kids, all that stuff. So that you can't steal anything like that. It's not something you steal. But like,
yeah, it's
as
pretty
long as you're not
universal.
taking a punchline from somebody, that's a whole different thing. But if you hear someone's
Yeah.
joke and you go, "Oh, they're talking about family. Oh, my family did X, Y, and Z, not this thing," and then you make something like that. That's not You're not even in the same realm. You're just saying their idea spawned another idea. And I think
Yeah.
there's a
Exactly.
philosopher, somebody said there's like only like 10 original stories or ideas anyway, so it doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, he's dead now. So I
Yeah,
mean,
he's dead now. Yeah, he's dead.
um, so that the largest inspiration that I get from my comedy is actually from the Bible. It's just like I have this bit I did last night about how I was okay. Everyone watching, if you don't know about comedy, it's the foundation of comedy is true, but then it's built on and it can be blown out of proportion. And so I have this bit talking about how I got fired from a, a Christian daycare. I was fired from a Christian daycare, but not for the reason that I'm talking about. And I'm like, it's right. So I start talking about how I got fired from this Christian preschool because I wanted to teach the children the Bible songs I wanted to teach them, not the ones that they wanted me to teach the kids, So I started singing Mary Magdalene slept around, like, you know, and my honest hope in my heart behind me's crazy. Like, wait, she's singing about Mary Magdalene sleeping around and she was almost stoned. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because in the world, if some of those folks that go to those comedy clubs, some of them go to church. Some of those folks used to go to church, like when they were little and their grandma would take them to church. And it could very well just trigger a memory or something and actually cause some introspection. It might also get them curious enough to actually read the Bible. And so with a lot of my sideways humor that comes from the word, like there's another song I sing, a song I sing with that whole Mary Magdalene bit, that is the story of how this wicked man entered a woman's tent, but she was a righteous woman of God. And she fed him, she let him lay his head on her pillow. She was not sleeping around. And she took a tent peg and a hammer and hammered it through his skull. Well, I sing about it like, oh, this should be a preschool song. Like,
Yeah.
he laid his head on her pillow and fell fast asleep. So she took a tent peg and hammered it through his skull, and then he died. And people are like, did that, like, seriously, did that really happen? Like, oh, look at that precious little 4-year-old. Like, oh, Miss DeAnn Alaine, I remember the song you said. Like, yeah, the mother is staring at me from across the street now, child.
Yeah.
Like, so she took a tent peg. Yeah. So all of the motivation behind what I'm doing out in the world with these sideways biblical truths is to get people to have a desire to maybe go back and visit the word. That is my heart. about evangelism in comedy out in the world. Yeah.
I love that. Have you ever watched Crashing the Pete Holmes show that was on HBO? Crashing.
No, I thought only people the sinners watch HBO.
Oh, I watch HBO. I mean, we're all technically sinners, though, I guess. So yeah,
I
I
say
got
my grace. I ain't no sinner. Come on now. We're gonna have some preach up in here. No, I totally get what you're saying. No, I haven't seen it.
So there's an episode where he becomes part of like a Christian comedy tour, and he's doing jokes about like stuff that happened in the Bible or whatever, and like it's super funny because they're all based on like he's telling the truth about what happens in the Bible, but the way he tells it like offends some people, and it's just really funny to watch that happen. And I was like, wow, like if someone came to my church and told these jokes, I would laugh. Like I'd be like, oh, this is hilarious, and it would make me want to go read the real story again. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I probably should look that up to make sure that that's the real story, right? You know, so that it's just stuff like that, and I think that's a great way to approach it. Is you're being funny, you're telling something that's true, but putting a funny spin on it, and then people will. You're right. It'll activate them to go, huh? Maybe I should look that up again. Is that how that really happened? And then go. Now you've just activated that interest, right? And that's a great point. That's what every time I watch that episode, I have to go back and like look at scriptures that he like references in the show. And I'm like, oh, it did happen that way. That's weird. I didn't like, you know, so it's really funny. It's a great episode. I think it's in like season 3. I can't remember. I love that show a lot. So if you have HBO, if you're a sinner and you have HBO Max, there you go. You use
I'll just hack into your account. I mean,
there you go. Perfect.
You can give me all your passwords. It's okay.
So how many songs do you have written total? Like how many songs do you have written total that you could perform or whatever and stuff?
Oh gosh. Well, certain ones are for certain venues. So the count at the moment is 16.
Wow.
16.
And about how long is each song? Are they like 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
2
like,
minutes.
2 minutes. So you can make an album. You can make an album if you wanted to. And put it out
I
there
have
in the
an
world.
EP. I just released 5 songs on all streaming platforms.
All right, I'm gonna go look at it right now. So keep talking. I'm gonna go find this.
So They're All Dead is on there. Bless My Bod is on there. If It's Hard to Say, Sing It. And what are the other 2? Oh, Mama Trauma. It's about being a mom to a teenager. And and there's one other one. It's escaping.
Thankfully, it's hard to say.
Oh my gosh! Have you heard that one, James?
No, I haven't. I'm adding these all. I'm adding these all to my stuff right now.
Oh, dude, cool, super cool. So yeah, I just isn't that how it goes? Like I've had these songs. I've been building them and writing, and they're getting. You know, the more I practice honing the comedy and music, obviously the funnier they get, and which is exactly. So anyway, I'll skip through all the mental conversation I just had with myself, and, keep it to the minimum. So I have these songs, and this comedian at an open mic, his name's Joe. He said, "Do you have your stuff on Spotify or anywhere?" And I was like, "No." And then 2 weeks later, I got up and I sang. Okay, I don't have this one recorded yet, but it's famous rap songs, one-liner rap songs, put to ukulele. So, because I don't have this one recorded, so it goes like, I love how music brings people together, and it helps divide lines that are invisible, and I hope the song brings us together. And I'll just do a couple of them so you can see the premise, the heart of it. Oh gosh. All I wanna do is zoom in the boom boom. All I wanna do is zoom in the boom boom. Just shake your rump, just shake it. Oh, if you're feeling like a pimp, just Go and brush your shoulders off. If you're feeling like a pimp, just go and brush your shoulders off. Get low, get low, get low, get low. Okay, so you can get the idea. So I have and that song keeps growing because I've got like 7 rap songs and people are like, more, and they're like shouting, more, I'm like, more. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I keep at it, like that song, by the time it's done, it's going to be like a 5-minute long song. And it's all to ukulele. It's just absurd. So, thanks for indulging me in that. But, I really try and take other cultures and bring them in, because a lot of people, okay, I'm going to get on my soapbox just for a second.
Go for
it. Different ethnicities exist, but there is only one human race. There's only one human race. And so how can there be racism if there's one human race? However, there can be ethnocentric, right? Ethnic supremacy. There can be that. But my job isn't to dispel that as a comedian. But I do want to unite us more. And one of the best uniters that I can do is by reaching outside of my own middle-aged Caucasian bland chicken and spice it up with things that are surprising, that you would never consider. Like, you would not expect to hear me saying most of what I sing. Like, the premise behind Thankfully will surprise you. And I'm not going to give it away, but
no, I'm going to go listen to it after this for sure.
Oh my gosh. So when I was a teenager, my dad was in the Air Force and we lived over in Seoul, Korea.
Yes.
That's the south part for those that may not. And sometimes I'm too close to my own life to write comedy about it, but I can use something about it to write a song. And so I thought, this is true. There is a building. It looks like a double wide. Okay, it's a government building. It's very small, and half of the building is in North Korea, and the other half is in South Korea. And there is a microphone line on exactly the 38th parallel that divides this table into North Korea and South Korea. So this is the only safe, legal place to enter North Korea. Okay, and they tell you, like, you have to go through like this little teaching before you get to there. Like, you're in a bus with other people who just want to have that experience. And so we get up there, and on the bus right on the way, they're like, do not point and smile into North Korea. Do not laugh and cheer. Like, this is a serious place, and we wouldn't want any incidents to occur. So I'm going to work on a song about how I was in North Korea. You know, a stringy haired, I had naturally blonde hair back then, and blonde hair in anywhere Korea is kind of rare. And so I'm going to come up with some real funny about my trip to North Korea. And
that sounds awesome.
So I'm excited about that. And also, I love mocking Disney. I live, you talk about like the elderly population on the roads. Okay, I live in Orlando.
That's true.
I live 4 exits away from Walt Disney World. Okay, we've got like 20,000 elderly per capita, especially since all the New Jersey New Yorkers during COVID actually relocated and moved here. And so now, it's so fun. It's just so much fun. And I love poking fun at Disney. I think Disney is actually quite a wicked company. They with all the witchcraft and all the movies, and I think Dr. Fauci is just a murderer. But I'm a comic, so you don't have to take me seriously, or you can, you know. But Disney Plus put the Dr. Fauci, like, how hail Dr. Fauci is a miracle worker, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm a Republican. Like, I love DeSantis. Okay, so I'm like, that's it. And so I started writing comedy about Disney, and I have this I don't know if you know this. I don't know if many people know this, but there have been two. This was just last year, two for sure. Human trafficking. What do you call it?
Oh
Traps?
yeah, at the Disneyland thing. I do remember reading something about
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah,
Two of them. We have the greatest sheriff ever here in Polk County, is where most of those folks worked. And so, of course, I came up with the 5 days of Christmas because I actually live in Polk County in Florida. And it's really the armpit, like of the Middle East. Jerusalem is considered the armpit of Israel.
yeah.
And Polk County is quite similar to that. And so I start off by saying, a lot of people get jealous when I tell them I live in Polk County. And everyone laughs because that's like the last county in Florida that you actually want to live. Because not only do you deal with the drug trafficking, I-4, Disney traffic, all of the tourism that happens right around our exit. But I mean, it's just I want to speak life into Polk County, but at the moment, it's just where it is. So I wrote this song about the 5 days of Christmas, and I do a countdown. I only do the 5 days of Christmas, not the 12 days of Christmas, so people won't end their lives while they're listening to the comedy. And so it's like five, like things you find in Polk County. So it's like 5 stolen cars, 4 meth heads, 3 edibles, 2 trailer parks, and a Disney prostitution ring. And people love it. Like, they're gonna sing, and a Disney prostitution ring. So I am getting a whole lot more edgy about things that I can be funny and super vocal about, but through musical comedy.
Right.
And it's outrageous. Like, these folks are joining in and singing about a Disney prostitution ring. I'm like, this is gold. Like, God, you're so funny. To bring awareness through musical comedy. I'm like, bring it. Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
So
tell us about your
up.
sitcom. Tell them about your sitcom too, just so we know a little bit more about that. Give us your.
Oh gosh. We filmed most of the footage already, and the folks that I pitched the show to, they're like, DeAnn, why aren't you in the show? I'm like, because I'm not an actor. And they're like, yeah, actually you are. I'm like, no, I do comedy. And they're like, no, actually you belong in the show. So now we have like 4 more scenes that we actually have to film so that I get introduced in the show. But the show is called Fade Away. I've got my shirt on, Fade Away Funeral Home. And on the back it says, we put the fun in funeral. And it's based off of Fade Away Funeral Home, the best third-rate funeral home in Polk County. And,
is that a real place? Is that a real place?
No.
You made it up.
Yeah, the funeral home name and all that stuff is fiction. But I was like, last February, I was in this like 4-week acting class, and I am having to get used to the idea of saying I'm a writer and an actor, which is funny because it's just funny. So that's the last thing that I ever thought of myself. And so sometimes God will say, no, I want to help you identify some things about yourself that you actually don't know that I know. And so it's this really cool kind of revelatory journey that I've been going through. So I was in this class. It was a 4-week class. The official Ashley Ann Wood and Frankie Kovar were the co-teachers of this class. Very accomplished actors, very amazing, kind-hearted. And in acting class, sometimes those acting classes, they want you to do all kinds of different scenes, but this was a faith-based acting class. So I knew that it was safe. Like they weren't going to explore other venues, like darker venues, as if my comedy isn't, dark enough. And so I was in the class, and when they heard my monologue, I just made my comedy bit a monologue, and they're like, "DeAnn, oh my gosh, that was hilarious. Where did you find this monologue?" I'm like, "Well, I wrote it. I'm a comedian. I didn't like go in there and announce like, oh, I'm a comedian.
Yep.
And so I just go in there because I'm going to support friends and to just learn. Like I knew the Lord wanted me in that class. So when they found out that I was writing my own comedy and doing it, they're like looking at me and saying, we need content. We need content. And I totally brushed it off. And then a week later, it was like the second or third week of the class, and Frankie is looking right at me, and he's like, if you write comedy, we would really appreciate some comedy television, movies and scripts, like if you're writing. And he was seeing things in me that I still wasn't seeing myself. So I get home. It's now Sunday morning. I haven't gotten up to get ready for church yet. I'm just laying there. And I said, Lord, and this was a year ago, like a year ago, right now. And I said, Lord, I don't see myself that way. I don't have anything to any reason to think that I could do anything like that. Like, but I'm available. If you want me to do something like that, then I will. And before I got out of bed, he was already telling me, I want you to do a comedy show about a funeral home. And I'm like, a funeral home? He's like, you don't understand. A lot of people, everyone faces death. Everyone faces it. But lately, a lot more people have been passing away because of disease. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And a lot more people sadly will be passing away. And I need your show to give people permission to laugh at something that everyone deals with. And I was like, well, okay. I don't know how to do this, but you give me the direction and I'll just go. And so I'm like looking at like free software for like how to write a script. I had to watch YouTube videos for how to do it, what software is like free. I had no money. Like I live in a room. Okay, so so he just poured it into me, and I would sit down and I would just start typing out what I hear, and I'd hit my digital recorder and I just start talking out the most crazy conversations between these fake characters. And then I learned about character development, and then I learned about how to do shot lists. And I was like, I guess I'm gonna direct this. I mean, you gave it to me, you put it in my heart, I've written it, and I'm like, but I don't know your timing. So let me know your timing, Lord. That's what I want to know. And don't you know, I had a car wash comedy show, and I was in this class, and I was in the car with my friend. She was driving me to class, Tammy Hansen, another really wonderful actress and dear friend. And I said, Tammy, I need to talk to you about something. I have this show in my heart. I don't know what the name of it is yet, but I could see you in it. It's a comedy about a funeral home, and here's the role that I see you playing. So I never had to do a audition call, casting call, nothing. God sent me one person at a time who to be in this show. And I mean, so I wasn't even trying to cast. He just brought everybody. And so from the inception, from the birth of the show in my heart to the final day of filming, so we thought, was exactly 7 months. Exactly. Wow. And I was like, only the Lord can do something like that. And the funding came. I called up a friend and I said, listen, he's another clean comedian and a businessman, Carrie Alva. I called him up. I said, listen, man. He's like, sis, tell me you got a role for me. We met at the Christian Comedy Association retreat up in Indianapolis. And he's like, sis, tell me you got something for me. I'm like, I've got something for you. And I'm not kidding. He wasn't even asking me to talk about this, but such a generous person. And I said, I've got a small semi-recurring role for you. You play the part of a prominent family in the community. And I mean, Carrie, he's adorable. He's the shortest Mexican man I've ever met. He's like 4'8". Okay, he's a little taller than that. But we're like peas and carrots. And so he's like, I love this show. I love the idea with the show. Like, how can we get it off the ground? I'm like, well, I need money. And he's like, we can do that. I'm like, what? And so we filmed. We filmed with one camera, and it was 2 extremely long but funny days, hard work. But we laughed almost after every time I got to say cut. We were laughing, and I'm like, this is beautiful. I'm like, Lord, is this what you want me to do? And he's like, no, this is just a pit stop on your way. I'm like, what? Like, you're blowing my mind. So fade away. You can go to my website, www.DeAnnAlaine.com, and you can see some of the characters' names and pictures there. You can also see the preview for the show.
Oh, nice.
It's on the website. So we have a few more scenes that we need to film, but we're gonna need it done in a hurry, and get it out for
folks. Do you have a place for it to go already? Or you can't say. If you can't say, it's okay. It's okay. All right.
No worries. Nothing official. No, nothing official. We have some potential clients. I pitched a show last year at the International Christian Film and Music Festival here in Orlando, and the script wasn't even done yet. And they're like, "What do you mean the script isn't done yet?" I'm like, "It's not done yet. It was almost done." And they're like, "When you get done with this script, you need to let us know." So then I finished the script. I let them know, and then we filmed. And I said, "We're done filming." So I thought, and then. Yeah, so it's a crazy, lighthearted, no woke agenda. It's just funny. It's silly and ridiculous, but it helps people deal with death in a really comical way. So, and this is awesome. Just the beginning, my friend. So fade away. Look for it on streaming platforms and TV everywhere.
Awesome. And where can everyone find all your stuff, your music, all your things? Just go to DeAnnAlaine.com. Is that the best place to go?
So I don't have my songs listed there on my website yet because that's such a new avenue to this. But you can the songs that I have out are on all streaming platforms. So they're on Spotify, they're on iTunes, they're on Deezer, they're on like Apple Music, they're like everywhere that you like to listen. And I only have 5 songs recorded and uploaded at the moment. I've got a lot more work to do, but so that's where you go for the music. But everything else, you can just go to DeAnnAlaine.com. And I'm going to be taking some pictures and putting I've got some stickers. I'm going to have some merchandise on the site pretty soon too.
That's awesome. I hope that when you do, if it's hard to say, I hope when you do it, I hope you do a music video and then like you sing like to a baby, like to a mom and a baby, like your baby's ugly, like you do all those moments. I think it would be funny. Like it's like you walking down the street, like you on the street and you're walking. This is the video in my head.
So
you're walking down the street and you're playing it as you see people do stuff, and then that, and when you like say it's not you, it's me. Like you're in a coffee shop and you're breaking up with somebody. It's not you, it's me, but really it's you. And like all that, like you do all those things in there, and then. At the end,
disturbing.
you get pulled over and the cop sings you your Miranda rights. Boom.
Boom. That is so wrong. I love it.
It'd be awesome. I would love it. I love to watch that.
Honestly, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do your thing.
Like my original approach to that song for doing a video would be like live from so and so. Would be a live performance of me singing that song because I didn't really have a vision of like singing it to people going down the street like you're talking about.
It's even better. That's so good because it's like you're doing the whole thing in like real life, like in those moments.
You are troubled, my friend.
It would just be so funny. I would love it. I always think of like, what's the funniest way to get something across to somebody and just make it semi-shocking, but also like relatable. And like that's the thing where those are things that you want to say to people that you can't. So then if you are doing it in the music video and saying it, it's even funnier. So there you go.
Oh my gosh.
So there you
I just might.
go.
I just might. You've got
Well,
the
thank you
wheels turning.
so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. Please like, subscribe, go check out DeAnn's stuff. You're gonna love it. Go get her songs, download them. I downloaded them during the podcast. I downloaded them on my phone while I was listening to her sing. So do it. You're gonna love it. She's got more stuff coming. Go support her. Thank you again for being on the podcast. And we hope that you all have a good one. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. I'm at $5.99. Let's get over 1,000. Come on, guys. Like
Do
I know
it.
thousands of you listen to the podcast. Like, listen, please just go subscribe on YouTube and watch it. See what my ugly mug looks like, and then go see what DeAnn's beautiful face looks like. You won't want to look at me, but you'll want to look at her, so you'll be happy. So there you go.
Oh no! I think you're handsome. You're a handsome fella. Come on, chicks. Let's support James in his effort to get his goodness around. Goodness. Let's share the James goodness, man. Let's share it.
All right. Thank you very much, and have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.